It's been an activity-filled start to the year. As we celebrate Easter, it is important to reflect upon our progress thus far and to recognize the individuals that have made the kind of decisions that continue to allow our audience to sip on the tea of this show's bottomless ridicule. Welcome to our Easter recap episode, with enough Easter eggs to metaphorically throw at your favorite governor's vehicle. So sit back, relax, and prepare to argue with your family. It's time for Second Take. Leading by example is about as rare a characteristic in a politician as answering questions directly, but one of Chad's selfless leaders gave it a shot. Now, Chad's new Prime Minister, Masra, has decided to give up his salary in favor of helping others in the country. His selfless act was followed by legislator Bede Tolomi, who also said he'll give up 50% of his salary and donate the rest to orphanages. I truly believe that their hearts are in the right place, but I don't know if it actually matters to do this beyond political points. I can go further and just say that I actually don't care for it. For one, I want my leader to be able to show up to work with no excuses. I don't want to have to lend my prime minister cab money because he couldn't get to work. And most importantly, I want my leader to have a salary so that he is not tempted to dip into the national coffers. Politicians are experts at cosmetic initiatives. I don't need you to give up your salary. I need you to make sure that I never have to give up mine. This generous move can be interpreted as a built-in cop-out should the Prime Minister's leadership be substandard. And if I am struggling to stay afloat, the last thing I want to hear from someone that is meant to be steering the ship is that we are on the same boat. Namspective after the break brings us back to Namibia, where it seems like political parties haven't gotten the memo that elections are this year. As others do their best to bring themselves to the level of the people, the leader of Comoros managed to make it onto our Dictator Watch. Now, I like to be optimistic about matters that relate to African politics, but if I am concerned with being realistic, more often than not, optimism floats out of the window as cynicism makes its way in. So without further ado, I would like to present to you my new and very necessary mini segment inside a segment, Dictator Watch, where we keep an eye on Africa's power-hungry individuals. Today, we take a trip to Comoros, where yet another election has had a low voter turnout and irregularities. Now, of course, this means nothing to President Azali Assoumani, who had a 63% majority in the final polls, even though only 16% of people voted because of opposition parties boycotting the election, and expecting a dictator that was able to seek a fourth term because of a controversial referendum that removed his presidential term limits in 2018 to care how many people show up is a waste of hope. Besides, the majority of the country putting you in office is a thing of the past. These days, less is more. And the people of Comoros are probably wrong to be tired of a military man that took power during a coup in 1999 and was then elected in 2002, took a break from politics and came back because obviously what was missing from the first time he ruled was an older version of him. Turns out it's not the children or the youth. In African politics, it is the pensioners that are the future. Batman has Joker, Superman has Lex Luthor, Spider-Man has the Goblin, and South Africa has Jacob Zuma. South Africa's former president Jacob Zuma has been given the boot from the ANC for his apparent talent in the corruption Olympics and a flair for turning political principles into folly. Zuma, not one to fade quietly into the background, decided to spice things up by launching a new party, Umkhonto weSizwe. The ANC, which had previously shown the patience of a saint, suddenly realized that tolerating Zuma's antics might have been pushing it a tad too far. Secretary General Fikile Mbalula, in a moment of rare seriousness, declared that those in conflict with the party's values would find themselves outside, as if the ANC's values were carefully guarded secrets that Zuma accidentally stumbled upon. Zuma, undeterred by this sudden rejection, embarked on a noble quest to rescue the ANC, though his version of rescue involves creating a rival party that shares a name with the ANC's former armed wing. As South Africa braces itself for the most competitive election in ages, Zuma's new party is poised to take votes from the ANC, which naturally makes Julius Malema and the EFF happy, because nothing quite beats an opponent that is skilled at beating themselves. Will the ANC recover from this spear in the side, or will Zuma's Umkhonto weSizwe turn out to be the hero or anti-hero nobody knew they needed? All I know is if the political waters get too muddy for Jacob Zuma, there's nothing that a shower can't cure, right? As far as political boxing goes, South Africa did not hesitate to put its gloves on in defense of Palestine. One of the African countries that will be going to elections this year is South Africa. Now, a lot can be said about South Africa locally, but they shook the world by taking Israel to The Hague for committing a genocide in Gaza. The Avengers of South African law were assembled, and one by one they broke down Israel's genocidal intent, much to the applause of Palestinians and anti-genocide supporters all over the world. South Africa even showed TikToks which were made by IDF soldiers as they destroyed Palestinian homes. This was part of a plethora of evidence, including words said by Israeli officials that expressed genocidal intent. Israel's response remains that every human being that seeks a ceasefire is a Hamas agent. And South Africans seem no different. Yes, everyone is Hamas now. From Cassper Nyovest to Leon Schuster to Jacob Zuma, everyone is Hamas. In fact, why not throw Oscar Pistorius in there, even though getting away with what everyone else but you considers as murder won't necessarily put him in Israel's bad books. Here's the thing. History tends to repeat itself, but power often shifts its loyalty. Israel, the US, and the UK were the last to stop supporting apartheid in South Africa, and now South Africa is the first to call out Israel's own apartheid. Nelson Mandela would be proud, and he would also find it weird that the same Western nations that praise his legacy somehow have a different opinion when it comes to the freedom of all people. It is important to note that all Africans were not on the same page when it came to Israel. In a shocking turn of events that left the diplomatic world scratching its head, Judge Julia Sebutinde, once proudly associated with Uganda, has been disowned like an embarrassing relative who insists on bringing up awkward dinner conversations. I'm that relative. Last month, Sebutinde committed the cardinal sin of voting against all the provisional measures ordered by the ICJ for Israel to undertake in a case brought by South Africa concerning the war in the Gaza Strip. One can almost hear the gasps of disbelief echoing through the hallowed halls of justice. Despite Uganda distancing itself faster than a cat avoiding water, the ICJ decided that Judge Sebutinde was just the person they needed to spice up their ranks. So on the 6th of February, she was elected as the vice president of the World Court. In a statement, the ICJ declared that Sebutinde would be serving a 3-year term. Meanwhile, Uganda's permanent representative to the UN, Adonia Ayebare, took to the international stage to express the nation's profound disappointment in Sebutinde's actions. In a statement reminiscent of a teenager distancing themselves from an otherwise socially awkward parent, Ayebare made it clear that Sebutinde's rulings at the ICJ did not represent Uganda's official stance on the situation in Palestine. But here's the thing. I once saw a Ugandan politician take back an ambulance after she lost an election and still go ahead to be appointed State Minister of Finance for Investment and Privatization. So there isn't much moral high ground when Museveni is involved. All I'm saying is, sure, One may not agree with the otherwise wayward judge, but make no mistake, Uganda's leadership is nothing to sing home about. Ask Bobby Wine.
eTicket, your online ticket solution for events and event marketing, bringing you ease of mind and making sure that your event gets out there. For more information, contact events@nhh.com.na.
Senegal has a new president, and by new, we mean 44 years old, not another pensioner hand-me-down of a leader. Leading up to the election, Bassirou Diomaye Faye had been imprisoned, and 2 weeks later, he became president. He won the election by 54% of the vote, but the election almost didn't happen due to incumbent Macky Sall. Let's talk Senegal's Macky Sall. You know, he started the year on a prestigious list, Our Dictator Watch. President Macky Sall of Senegal has unveiled a masterstroke in the art of political manipulation by unilaterally postponing the looming presidential elections, just a breath away from their originally scheduled date of February the 25th. Under the otherwise thinly veiled guise of a dispute over the list of approved candidates, Sall has thrown the democratic rulebook out of the window, opting instead for a plotline more reminiscent of aspiring dictators eyeing an extended stay in power. In other words, it's giving Zimbabwe. Despite the assurance that he won't seek a third term, Sall's maneuvers have sparked suspicions of a carefully orchestrated charade, with whispers circulating that the puppet strings might be tightening around the chosen successor, Prime Minister Amadou Ba. This delay, a brazen attempt at elongating his political rule, has elicited a disconcerting air, with opposition parties launching legal battles against what appears to be the ominous overture of a leader inching towards autocratic aspirations, while past flirting with the idea, actually. As the capital, Dakar, becomes the unsettling stage for protests met with heavy-handed police intervention, the specter of authoritarianism looms, leaving Senegal citizens nervously awaiting the next scene in this ominous political drama, with Macky Sall as the main actor, producer, and director. We will be keeping an eye on him as he enters Second Take's Dictator Watch. Sadly, Namibia said goodbye to the country's third president, Dr. Hage Geingob, a widely respected man adored by many, which is why one would expect original heartwarming speeches at his memorials. That was not always the case. All right, let's head to Namibia, the land of the brave, where Commerce Governor Laura McLeod Kashirwa has unleashed her genius, defending her recent speech at a memorial service where she shamelessly lifted lines from former US President Barack Obama's 2013 funeral address for Nelson Mandela. McLeod Kashirwa found herself in the spotlight for recycling Obama's words to honor the late President Hage Geingob. She echoed Obama's eloquence, stating he was not a bust made of marble, he was a man of flesh and blood, a son and a husband, a father and a friend, and that's why we learned so much from him, and that's why we can learn from him still. Now, in an interview with Namibian Sun, the governor shrugged off the plagiarism accusations, quipping, "I just quoted, that was a quote." In that case, bravo, Governor. Who knew that one could simply recycle speeches even for memorials? I mean, why go through the effort of creating a speech from the heart that is reflective of the relationship you had with the deceased? Why bother with originality when you can copy and paste words that were written and said for the purpose of honoring another person? After all, how much original material can one craft about His Excellency Dr. Hage Geingob, the third president of Namibia, the country's first prime minister, a visionary that steered the formation of Namibia's constitution, a family man, a beloved son of the soil that, as his eloquent widow Madame Monica Gengos put it, went from peasantry to presidency? Why bother with all of that information from his unique life when you could just copy what Obama said about Nelson Mandela as if the South African liberation struggle was called the Long Walk to Harambee?
Attention kids, we have some exciting news for you. We are back, and this year we are planning on going big. So listen up. If you are in grade 3, grade 2, grade 1 or pre-primary, we are bringing your free school workbooks to you soon. This is all you need to know about where you can find your books. Books will be available for free in Republican street sale newspapers and all Namibian Sun newspapers. And for all pre-primary kids out there, your books will be delivered to your school in all 14 regions of Namibia. And there's more. Pre-primary books will also be printed in 9 different languages. Check out when your book will be available from the schedule right here. That's not all. Our free online school is there to help you along the way with video lessons and more books to download. You can also follow along on NTV every Monday to Friday from 9:30 to 11:30 for your daily online school lesson. We thank all our sponsors who are helping to build a brighter future for Namibia. Contact us at info@acdtrust.com and follow us on Instagram.
Let's have a look at some heartwarming stories from the start of the year. Let's get into our heartwarming moment of the week. The inaugural Kigali Triennial Festival, which took place from February 15 to 25, left an indelible mark on Rwanda's arts and culture scene. Over 200 artists from 25 countries showcased their talents, uniting in a celebration of African arts and culture. This is how it went.
I'm here tonight very happy that Kigali is hosting this first very interesting triennial that is called Triennale de Kigali, which is an event that is going to help our local artists to take advantage of the experienced creators and artists, but also allowing Kigalians to have a full week long entertainment time.
And I'm here in this festival, and I'm expecting to get more connections with more people, connecting with some people from different countries.
This is the first of a kind and the beginning of a great story that I'm sure going to flourish in Rwanda. What we did for the co-creation was basically to expose local artists and local talents, known, less known, and unknown totally, just to show the diversity of work that the country provides.
The other day, I came to an understanding that the lines in the palms of my hands lead to my grandmother's garden, that the pathways in my veins lead to 1,000 hills of forgiveness, that everything we prayed for was already within us. For where else but on these hills we call home. We've learned from our country, we've learned from our swing, Rwanda every.
Usanimpindura amatwara nyuma y'ivuka nkandika amateka ntegura jahe ko nimenye ko nisise ko nisise ko nisanze ko nigise.
Initiated in 2006, the Friendship Bench tackles Zimbabwe's mental health crisis stemming from a scarcity of mental health professionals and a history of unaddressed trauma. With fewer than 20 psychiatrists for 15 million people, the country grapples with post-colonial and wartime traumas compounded by economic hardships. Zimbabwe boasts one of Africa's highest suicide rates, so, not boasting. And many facing mental health issues lack access to affordable help. In response, psychiatrist Dr. Dixon Chibanda devised a solution, training lay health workers, predominantly elderly female community health workers known as grandmothers. Despite initial skepticism about their suitability, these grandmothers, deeply rooted in communities, were equipped with problem-solving therapy skills. The program, known as the Friendship Bench, targets common mental health disorders, providing accessible support on purpose-built benches. One wonders, if Namibia's Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah could adopt a similar strategy, perhaps the wisdom chair for her political campaign, leveraging her age and the power of councillor grandmothers to address both mental health and political challenges in the 2024 election. After all, who wouldn't want a leader with the wisdom of a grandmother? Just putting it out there.
We are all seeking connection to each other, to the world, to the spaces we exist in.
Poor sportsmanship right now from the lads.
You might be physically ready, your body is ready, but mentally.
Here's another chance, and it is a goal from Vindo Kahana.
Sy sê wie is dit aan neertrek en daai bal het my grond gevat. Ja, hy het grond gevat en is
but just enough next.
Running that mountain up. Okay, so we will be doing this for the mountain climber. More advanced, slightly advanced.
So is jou trolley reg? Want
I love that. I love that. So then
kickstart our countdown at number 5 with this one.
Op Netwerk TV se Klets Kompas gesels ons nuus van 'n Maandag tot Donderdag. Ons kyk ook na die weer en meer. Stories wat jou raak en stories wat saak maak.
They've made a mistake in denying me bail, and they've made several other mistakes in many other cases.
The channels that teach us something new or reflect our expression. So it goes beyond switching to the right station. It's about choosing the experience that can adorn the present, dressing it with our tastes as we expand our preferences, because what we are actually connecting to is boundless, limitless human energy. And this is the spirit of NTV.
Thank you for staying with Second Take with Ashton Betty throughout your Easter. I hope you didn't argue too much with your family. After all, it's been 2 long weekends. You might need to borrow money from them by Tuesday. See you next week.